welcome to your weekly interval. This is the Best Damn Nerd Show. I'm your host, Microphone Alchemist Bimbo Jimbo. With me tonight, Imperial Commissar Jeff Budd.
Don't mind me, just reading a little Batman crossover with Tarzan here. What are we talking about tonight? Is it our Tarzan episode finally? Glad I got this prop.
Jeff, your commitment to the visual gag is both infuriating and inspiring. So
gotta get that chalkboard.
Chief Science Officer of Star Labs and DC lapdog and fan, Mark Truex.
Holy rusted metal, Batman. It's great to be here.
Sensing a theme, and Hall of Fame cyber athlete, Jonathan Craig.
Hey guys, just happy to be here, you know?
No Batman reference. We are talking Batman on this episode.
That's
of
a real
Best
Jason Todd right there.
Yeah, what a prankster. But we are going to be talking Batman.
Audience vote if we should kill off John's character.
Oh. Yeah, sound off in the Discord. But yes, we are talking Batman. We are celebrating Batman Day. Scholars debate whether Batman Day falls on September 19th this year or September 21st. So let me just say happy Batman Day, however you choose to celebrate it. I've seen conflicting reports online, but rest assured, this is the week in which the Best Damn Nerd Show falls in the vicinity of Batman Day. So happy Batman Day.
If any superhero deserves a week, it is Batman.
Right after Superman.
we will get into a little bit of soups in this episode as well, but happy Batman Day, everybody. And Jeff, I know I texted you earlier, just like I was already excited for this episode when we put it on the schedule, but then coming in today, like this is gonna be fun because we all love Batman. So just a quick little overview of what Batman Day is. It originated in 2014 at Comic-Con for the 75th anniversary of Batman, which is very cool. And then it got moved to September after that. And as I alluded to earlier, there's some debates among the sages as to what day in September it falls on this year. But, in terms of superheroes that deserve a day that to be marked on the Best Damn Nerd Show, Batman is certainly one of them. And that is what brings us to tonight. So I ask you in the gallery there, what hooked you most on Batman first? And we're going to be going all over the place tonight. It's a very dense topic. So if you want us to talk more about a given thing with Batman, we are going to revisit this several times throughout the course of the Best Damn Nerd Show. Most notably for me, I really want to do a whole episode about just the animated series. But Mark, we'll start with you. What first hooked you about Batman?
So when I was younger, my brother and I used to watch all the reruns of Adam West, and we would try to record that Batman on VHS and things like that. And if we got in trouble, my mom would take away those VHSs and say we couldn't watch Batman tonight. And that was like really the first foray into Batman as a character, predating BTAS when that came out. And of course, that just blew my mind and became very much a seminal Batman piece. And from there leading on to comic books and toys, and then coming back to the 89 movie. Cause I was a little young at the time that came out. I was 3, but came back into the fold a little darker. And, Batman Forever was just rocking my world as a kid. I just remember like everything coming out, from specialty cups and glassware from McDonald's to all the different video games for like Sega Genesis and the myriad of toys coming out of that. I went as for Halloween when I think for 3 years in a row, it was like I think maybe 2nd to 5th grade or somewhere in there as Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face. I wore the exact same costume every single year in a row.
Good man.
And just absolutely love it. And obviously I'm still a huge fan and reading all the monthlies now. And I love Batman. I'm super stoked to be here to talk about this and celebrate Batman Day once again with you boys.
Absolutely. Jeff, how about you?
Boy, Batman's like one of those things that's hard to even remember what the introduction of it was. He's kind of just always been in my life. Like Mark, the Adam West Show was something I used to watch repeats of it every afternoon when I would come home from kindergarten. They would play like 2 episodes back to back. So I would get like the first half and then there would be the cliffhanger. And then I would get the second episode that kind of resolves it. And then there's also definitely like just some random action figures in my house. And then I was in kindergarten. I think I was in kindergarten at least when the '89 Batman movie came out. I guess it depends what month it was in. But yeah, I mean, I saw it in theaters. I was very little, but I did get to see it in theaters. And then yeah, it was just a bunch of toys. By the time the animated series came out, which was only like a couple of years after that movie, I think I was already very, very steeped in Batman and just like superheroes in general. So I definitely had already been a fan for a bit.
Johnny?
I came to it through my cousin that shit himself in the active video.
I was actually going to reference him myself, so but I'm glad you
he's
did it first.
just gonna come up in every episode. But he was honestly a big part of like all of the nerd culture in my life. So he just is a recurring theme. But for me, it was coming to Batman through way of the '90s movies that everyone shits on constantly.
Well,
I like them.
It was a perfect intersection for me because it was bright, colorful, silly, and had Jim Carrey, and I loved Jim Carrey at the time.
Fantastic.
I had a Jim Carrey Riddler poster on my wall that I used to throw, like bat. What are they called?
Batarangs.
Batarangs. Yeah, I used to throw him at his dick and I try to get him to like stick in the wall in his dick.
You're weird guys.
We'll deal with that another time.
Aside from that, just playing the Sega games and yeah, I mean, also for me, like coming back to it later in life, I definitely have a lot of fond memories of anticipating the like Nolan Batman movies with you guys, and absolutely. I think that's such an important part of this show's history and the history of our friendship that I think that's really where like my love for Batman kind of solidified.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said. And it like Jeff too, there is like, for me, it's hard to remember a time that there wasn't Batman. I was taken to see the 1989 Batman film in theaters. I was probably about 4 years old.
That is not cool.
My dad was one of those parents. That was kind of a recurring theme. Took me to RoboCop, took me to Batman. Was not a great decision, probably.
You're like, Dad, I just want to watch animated shows.
I don't even think that I was communicating that. But
no, James was like, I just want to watch like movies from the 1940s.
That came later.
Casablanca.
You're not wrong. Gunfight at the OK Corral and Casablanca, but like the 1989 like Tim Burton Batman movie is just one of those like seminal things for me growing up. So, it was one of the first really big deals on VHS because it was affordable. So, like everyone had Batman on VHS. I still remember the like Batman plush toy that I had that was like one of my most prized possessions. And when I got car sick and vomited on it, I would try and steal my brother's, which was identical, but not vomited upon. So that's why I was going to reference your cousin, John, because that's what it reminds me of.
What is it with relatives and just
releasing
bodily fluids on things?
I have to own this one. But yeah, that Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson Batman hooked me. I watched it all the time as a kid. I vividly remember watching, I can see it in my mind's eye, playing with the toys from the movie with like the Batcave playset while watching the movie and just like loving it. And then when the animated series came out, that to me was sort of just like a game changer in how I even viewed superheroes and all that stuff, because I still to this day, and this isn't meant to be hyperbolic, but I don't think there's been anything better from the superhero genre in terms of adaptation than Batman the Animated Series, because I feel like all the things that they changed were for the better. Essentially, they threw out a lot of, I was talking with Mark before the show started, they threw out a lot of like the convoluted stuff that can happen in comic books and streamlined it down into origin stories that were really easy to understand. They hooked you, and it was great storytelling. So for me, Batman the Animated Series and the original Tim Burton Batman movie were what really, really did it for me. And obviously, Marvel, it was a bigger deal. I think the Marvel cards were much more how I got into Marvel. But for me in like DC, it was the Batman movie, it was the animated series, and it was sort of randomized issues of Batman. I didn't really start reading it, like in proper continuity until much later.
Yeah.
But that's definitely how I got hooked. But he is certainly, just one of what the name on the marquee is all about in superheroes. So I want to kick it over to Jeff first. Why do you think that is with Batman? Why is he so relatable to so many people? Why has he resonated the way that he has? I mean, he's been around since 1939, created by Bob Kane, and it's just like never looked back. So why Batman?
I think I forget where I had read this before, but I read it years ago. It was somebody talking about like Superman and Batman, and that they also just transcend their identities, and they're more like forces of nature. And it's like, Batman's even said it like on TV shows, it's like, I am the night. It's like, so it's this entire concept that you can kind of relate to or wrap your mind around, that, I mean, regardless of like what society you're from or like what your outlook is on different things, it's like there's going to be something about Batman that's relatable. I know people talk about Batman's relatable because he has no superpowers, and it's like, but that to me, I mean, he's not relatable. One, he was a millionaire, now he's a billionaire. Two, nobody has that like type of physique. You can't have like the mastery of like all those forms of martial arts. You can't have that kind of technology. You can't look like Bruce Wayne when you're getting punched in the face every night by random thugs. I mean, there's a million reasons, obviously, why he's not relatable in that regard. But I mean, you can still enjoy the character. I think it's just he's become so iconic, and there's so many things that you just like about him. I mean, that's how I feel about a lot of superhero characters. I don't need to relate to the character per se. I can't put myself in their shoes and not enjoy them. I mean, there's certain characters that have that strength, but I don't think Batman needs that.
I think that maybe not relatable, but he connects though. Like he's over, like he is, since his inception in 1939 with Bob Kane creating him, he's just really connected with the readers. And in every adaptation, he's been big box office when they brought him to film. He's been a mainstay. It's just,
he's an institution.
Yes, he absolutely is. That's a great.
It truly is the work that Bill Finger put in to establish the character and his whole back lore and story of Bruce Wayne and everything. It really makes the human character of him connect, not just a bat.
I like the superhero.
Yeah,
now,
right.
Batman.
Yeah, actually, people read about the superhero though, and it's the general concept. And I like the idea that it was created by Bob Kane. I'm sick of this finger nonsense from you, Mark.
That's who created him, is Bob Kane. So you see it at the start of that.
No, you're right. Only one person is responsible for any major superhero character.
I think you arguing that Bob Kane is the only creator is more to the fact of that, instead of giving
nobody wants to give Bill Finger credit without taking it away from Bob Kane.
That is true.
As if there's no collaboration. As if though the buck didn't stop with Bob Kane.
I will agree with you there. I don't think
as if though they both didn't steal from the shadow.
I don't think giving Bill Finger credit means any less of Bob Kane, but I feel like all the people that are supporting Bob Kane feels like they're on an attack that they have to defend.
Is Bob Kane not being attacked? We were at a panel where they accused Bob Kane of not even being able to draw Batman.
Yeah, it was.
It's like they weren't giving Bill Finger credit for that.
Give him wings,
but they were taking it away from Bob Kane.
Yeah. No,
it's like, I don't know. The guy came up with the general concept of Batman. Did Bill Finger build upon it? Sure, but all of it was done in collaboration with Bob Kane, and with Bob Kane overseeing it,
standing upon the shoulder of the giant.
But I mean, because my whole thing is like, people shit on Bob Kane, but at the same time, people go, Stan Lee never gives Jack Kirby enough credit, and it's like, yeah, the artist contributes a lot to the story as well too. It's not just the general picture concepts; they have conversations with each other. I mean, and it's like, it's Bob. Bob was the boss. Bob was in charge of the character. Bill worked for him.
When did Batman go from like the corny like tights, like gray outfit, going around like solving mysteries to like, badass, changing his voice, like, where is he? Like punching people in the face, breaking their bones.
2005?
Dark Knight with Frank Miller. That really got it more gritty.
So like the 80s?
No, but I mean, he definitely was still wearing the that type of outfit, though. The 89 movie, I think, is when you started seeing like tactical gear Batman costume. And I mean, the movies never looked back. I mean, that's how other than Affleck, that's what all the Batman costumes look like. It looks like armor, basically.
But even some of the artwork in the comics prior to those movies were more on the darker side than the original stuff.
Yeah, sure.
No, the original for the time isn't light. I mean, it's sort of dark. And I mean, he used guns. He killed people. He fought people, like pretty viciously. It didn't
He
get
got
silly.
chauffeured by Alfred.
I would
no
say
Batmobile. Just drove him around.
That's nice. I would like that.
Well, I mean, but Alfred wasn't around in the beginning.
Not in the beginning, but Bill Finger did bring him in later on. But there's a cool serial that was in theaters, you know, like
You do realize though that Alfred was just like a goofy, pudgy comic relief character who didn't even know that Bruce Wayne was Batman until the comic strip team said slim him down, make it where like he had like special forces training or was like a former secret agent, and then it was the editors that nobody's giving credit for because fuck DC, they're a big company, but it was the editors who go, hey guys.
You're
enough
right.
with enough with the goofy shit. You copy what they're doing.
You're right.
Better.
There was much more and many more people involved than just one guy. You are.
Oh
correct.
wait, and you know what? Wait, and who was overseeing the comic strip team? That's right. It was Bob Kane because he ditched the comic for a little while. He said, "I'm going to leave it in your hands, and I'm going to go over to the comic strip because it gets more eyes on Batman than those shitty comics do. Because we're writing pulp comics in the 40s for kids." This shit's in the newspaper and ended up being the canon stuff.
I feel like this probably needs to be its own separate episode. This Bob Kane, Bill Finger, who created the Batman episode, I think is something that we should revisit. It's Batman Day or close to it, something like here at the Best Damn Nerd Show. So let's keep this celebratory for now. But I like this back and forth between the two of you. So we might have to put you in a steel cage for this at a later date if you guys are willing. But we're gonna
shut up, James. Mark, I challenge you to an Agni Kai. Bob Kane is the creator of Batman versus your Bill Finger is the creator of Batman.
I think they're both. You don't have to take away from one to honor the other either.
So challenged, Mark. I will. Tell
I just would like to hear one person honor Bill Finger that doesn't.
I will
shit on Bob Kane.
I will tell you, Mark. So you've been challenged to a future debate, refusing carry some stiff penalties, such as being removed from the website. So I don't want to,
we put you on just to
like that.
just to threaten to take you
gladly. Gladly.
Excellent. All right. Well, so the challenge has been accepted. We will revisit that another time. We will have Bob Kane versus Bill Finger on the Best Damn Nerd Show. But for now, let's take a quick break. On the other side, we are going to get into Batman in the comics. We are going to talk about his rogues gallery and so much more on the Best Damn Nerd Show. And welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. We are celebrating Batman Day, and let's get back to the things that we love about Batman. And that is, it starts with the comic books in terms of his origin, of course. What are some of like the very best that Batman comics have had to offer? Mark, I know, of such fame as Comic Talk with Mark. C stands for comics. I know that this is going to be really in your wheelhouse here in terms of, just some of the seminal comic book arcs for Batman. What jumps to your mind?
So when I first started reading comics, my first books I got, they were in the Nightfall series where Batman broke his back. They introduced Bane. And so to me, like Chuck Dixon, the writer behind a lot of that, like just got elevated as like this icon of comic book lore. And that entire series, because it was around the same time as the death of Superman. And I remember just as a child watching like Home Shopping Network, and they actually had like the death of Superman, and they had the issues from Nightfall where Batman gets his back broken. That was like a big thing on Home Shopping Network of them showing comic books. I was like, wow, this is so cool. I love comic books too.
QVC.
I don't have that money. But that one definitely stands out. On the more recent side of things, the I Am Gotham run of Tom King and City of Bane, of course, Scott Snyder's run with the Court of Owls and
about Batman Metal.
Batman Metal's all right. Like if I'm going to talk about seminal Batman works, Metal isn't.
I was joking.
The top of it for me. It's neat, Evil Baby Metal Batman or whatever. But Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns and the entire Dark Knight universe is really good. More recently, the last 5 years or so, the third installment, The Master Race, came out where they reincorporate Kryptonians into the mix. That was really good. Kevin Smith's mini run Cacophony was really good. Hush, Killing Joke.
Oh yeah, love the Riddler.
Year One.
All right. There's a
not
lot.
Riddler Hush.
John, what about you? Because I know, like you said with the movies and stuff like that, I feel like that spurred you to kind of pick up some of the Batman comics.
Yeah.
Did you pick up? What did you like?
I got year one. I got the Hush series, Killing Joke, and then the series with Long Halloween.
Yeah.
And then I stole a book from someone. I think it's called Nightfall.
Yeah, that's the debut of Bane.
Yeah. Bane.
I stole that from someone, so that was good.
Nice.
Statute of limitations the extent of my collection. Run
out on that.
I think I bought them liking the idea of reading them and enjoying Batman comics, but I'm just not a comic or like animated series guy really. So while I appreciate the artwork, like the stories don't really resonate with me the same way that like motion picture films do. So I always just lean towards the movies really.
Well, there's some stories that I think are really good and the artwork doesn't resonate with me. Like Frank Miller, Batman, I don't really like how Batman looks in those comic books. I appreciate the story and what that is, but the way Batman looks in them, I do not particularly care for. But Jeff, what about you? What are some of your favorite Batman comic books, in your opinion, some of the best?
I don't really think the Joker looks good in the Frank Miller stuff. I never liked how he looked in it. It was always very bizarre to me. It was like one of the first Batman things I ever read as like a small kid too. We just happened to have it.
The gigantic blocky Batman is not my deal.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either.
I like it.
I think Mark mentioned a lot of great stories already. One thing that stands out to me from like my childhood with Batman is I was like in a shopping center or something. There's this comic book shop, and it was when Azrael was Batman, and it was like his new costume or whatever. They had like
Night Quest.
They had like this big cardboard cutout like in the window or something like that. I was like, whoa, Batman's costume. And my dad's like, yeah, that's not actually Batman. That's like this guy who's working for him because Batman's hurt right now. I was like, what? It's like the whole thing just like blew my mind. And then we had an issue like that was in somewhere in the middle of the series where he was still dressed as regular Batman. It's him beating a criminal on the cover, like with a board with a nail in it, the ultimate weapon, according to The Simpsons. And he's just smashing this guy's face up. And Robin is just horrified in the background, like with his hand up like that. And I thought that was Batman. I didn't know it was somebody, subbing for Bruce Wayne at the time. So like that issue, like completely scarred me until like I read through it. Because I was like, I don't know. Batman's taking it way too far. I was like Clark Kent and Batman versus Superman. It's like, it's like, we got to take this guy down. I don't approve of his tactics. But one story that we haven't talked about that was in this book I read, it was like greatest Batman stories ever told, but it was like published in the 80s. So, it's like...
So all the good ones were there.
Yeah, so yeah, nothing newer. Like no Bane existed yet or anything like that. But yeah, all the stuff that you and I love, James.
Yeah.
It was What is the Batman That Nobody Knows? And they actually did an animated short of it as well with that. It was like the Animatrix, but it was like Batman stories. I forget what that was called. It was
Batman.
Great.
I think it was Gotham Knights.
Something like that. I highly recommend that if nobody's watched it before, because all of the mini stories are really good. But that's one of the stories they did. Bruce Wayne takes like 3 inner city Gotham kids like camping or whatever. It's like some sort of program. And he's going to bed early, and the 3 boys are just telling stories to each other, and they're telling stories about Batman. And Batman is like kind of an urban legend. It's like most people never like actually see him. So they're all telling stories of like how they picture Batman. And like one of them, he's like super futuristic, has like all these like cool tech stuff and things like that. He's like incredibly vigilant. Another one is like, he's like supernatural, and it's like he's in the sky everywhere watching you. And then he can shrink down to like normal size and fight whoever's like committing a crime. And then, and I forget what the other kid said. Oh no, the other kid actually was talking about a story he heard from like another criminal. Like it was like a reformed criminal who had actually come face to face with Batman, and he tells the kids in the street stories to try to keep them on the straight and narrow. And Bruce Wayne's listening to this whole thing in this tent, and he's like, "Oh, finally, we're gonna get something a little more accurate to what Batman is." And the guy told the story about when he confronted Batman, but Batman's like 9 feet tall and super strong, and the guy, even though he got taken out by Batman, was kind of like heroic in a way, and he almost had a chance to kill Batman, and then like he chose not to. Yeah, exactly. And Bruce Wayne is like, wait a minute. And then the kids are all like, oh yeah, that's all kind of cool, but they're fighting with each other. And it's like, well, Bruce or Mr. Wayne, what do you think Batman looks like? And Batman jumps out of the tent in his full costume because he brought it with him for some reason.
Of course.
And he goes, I don't. Always. He's like, I don't know, kids. I think he looks something like this, and like he strikes a pose, and in front of all of them, and they all just laugh in his face. And they go, "That's not what Batman looks like." "Yeah, Mr. Wayne, that costume's for kids." And then it's like, we're going to bed. And then Bruce Wayne's just standing there and he smiles to himself and he goes, no, and he goes, "Well, it makes perfect sense that Batman is designed to strike terror in the hearts of villains, not the innocent." And like, I love that ending so much because, yeah, they're not scared of him because they're not supposed to be scared of him. He's there to help them. So I thought that was always a really cool story.
That's sweet. That should have been in the animated series. Like
they should have done an episode like that. It would have been really cool.
That would have worked. And I guess they did similar things in it. I want to highlight a couple of stories, and Mark mentioned in passing the Court of Owls, and we joke a lot, Jeff. Like, one of my favorite things you've ever said is that most of the best comics have already been written. And
prove me wrong. You're about to, yeah.
Well, no, but I do think that is very true in many respects. But one of the things I have to sort of tip my hat to Scott Snyder is he's one incredible writer beyond just Batman, but his approach with Batman, he takes a lot of care to respect, just the history of the character and the lore. And maybe no better example of that than what he did with the Court of Owls. It's a great horror story. It's introducing a new group of villains in my opinion, the best sort of addition of a villain to his rogues gallery since, I guess you'd say the animated series with Harley Quinn. And it was such a great storytelling with the fact that the Court of Owls were this sort of Illuminati group that were there from the beginning. They've always been there. They've always been aware of Batman. They've always been watching. And the way that Scott Snyder writes that dread, the way that Greg Capullo draws that dread, it all came together for one of my all-time favorite comic book stories ever. So if you haven't read Court of Owls, I definitely recommend that one. It's probably the best thing to come out of the New 52, in my opinion, which was full of a lot of great stuff. And then also keeping it with Scott Snyder, and again, as somebody that's not really pro other people besides the main character, besides like Bruce Wayne being Batman or say Peter Parker being Spider-Man and so forth, Scott Snyder sort of took the helm when Dick Grayson was having his run as Batman. And Gates of Gotham is another one of those really, really great, well-written stories that fleshes out the lore of Gotham City. It's all about, and Jeff, I think you'll appreciate this because you mentioned on another episode in terms of, what the Penguin is sort of like the other side of the Wayne family in Gotham. So what Gates of Gotham is about, it's about essentially the most important families in the founding of Gotham.
It's like the 4 founding families of Gotham.
And like the building of like the bridges throughout Gotham City, what happened there. And it does feel very much so almost like a prototype Court of Owls run, because even the main villain, Zachary Gate, looks kind of like a Talon, but it's all about how that family was seeking revenge on the other founding families of Gotham. It's really, really good. So if you haven't read Gates of Gotham, and again, I would usually blanch at including like a Dick Grayson story, but honestly, Dick Grayson's run as Batman was pretty fucking good.
He's a good Batman.
Dick Grayson's the best, man.
Yeah.
I was watching a trailer breakdown of the Robert Pattinson Batman trailer, and it's tons and tons of references from Gates of Gotham, the book you just referenced.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you definitely feel that in it, and it makes me excited to see that. And again, I'm a lore guy, so that type of writing, like Gotham City, very much so is a character within Batman's mythos, and so Scott Snyder really nailed that. So I definitely want to mention those. I mean, everybody talks about Killing Joke, Long Halloween and stuff like that, but I feel like some of those other ones don't get the run that they deserve necessarily. So. Any other stories that we missed, Marco, or anything like that you want to throw out there?
I think a fun thing to talk about with Batman is that he has become such like a pop icon, if you would, that he is one of the go-to characters that DC uses for a variety of crossovers, like one Batman Tarzan, Claws of the Catwoman, and like Batman Predator 2, some great items in there. And as well as one of my personal favorites when I first started getting back into reading comics as a full-fledged adult was, of course, Batman Nevermore, the Edgar Allan Poe Batman.
Yeah. That's a good
which
one.
Was super good. But I think it's fun that there's this taking of this character, and I've said it on this time, and and again on the podcast, that I'm like an Elseworlds guy. I like being shown different, versions of characters, things like that. And Batman being one of the leading guys at DC, or characters rather, just lends himself for that so much that so many of these kind of crossovers are great ways of pulling in other people. And since he is someone that's not necessarily like super powered, he lends himself to such a noir style that he can cross paths with Victorian era things and like items from like the 1920s and very pulpy societies. So I just think that's what's fun. Batman Tarzan's great. I'd love to hear what Jeff thinks of it.
Gotham by Gaslight, right? Is one. What was that Lovecraft one that you turned me on to, Jeff?
Oh boy, I don't remember what the name of it was anymore, but I highly recommend it. That one was really cool. It not only had Batman in it, but it also had Oliver Queen, and it had the first three Robins. It had Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake all involved as well. It was just basically a Lovecraftian twist on various Rogues Gallery members, which was really cool. I don't want to say too much, but it gets pretty gnarly. Yeah.
Another one I definitely want to mention is The Man Who Laughs by Ed Brubacher. Ed Brubacher is another favorite writer of mine, and he really nails the sort of procedural crime noir style of Batman. And so that one's sort of detailing Batman's first encounter with a full-fledged Joker, and how Joker really had to practice becoming the Joker to refine his sort of art, so to speak, kind of deal. So Ed Brubacher did a great job with that one as well. But let's talk about the Bat family values, because one of the things that we love about Batman is, all the other players in his world. And let's start with the boy wonder, Robin. And so I've got a few broad stroke questions I want to throw out.
Nay, James, he's now a man.
That is true. I'm now the man. The man one.
I am now the Batsman.
Sometimes, and I don't like it, except sometimes. But the boy wonder, Robin, is he the greatest sidekick of all time? And Mark, we'll start with you.
He's a partner, not a sidekick. That's why they're the dynamic duo.
Okay. Jeff,
he's a partner. He's a partner. He's not just a sidekick.
When he was 15 years old, he was just he was a partner then? He wasn't a sidekick?
Yes.
Him not being allowed to go on certain missions, he was a partner?
He was too young. It wasn't right for him. A good partner would tell you
he was
when
a
you should
junior
bow
partner.
Out. A good partner will tell you when you should bow out.
I'm actually glad Mark brought this up, because I don't say sidekick in
a derogatory way.
Yeah, it's not a derogatory thing. I think it's an important role in comic book history. And I think Robin plays probably the most important role in that
protege,
history. He's a sidekick. He's
Ward,
a sidekick.
But sidekick, I don't know. Sidekick does to me feel like a bit of a dirty word, because I feel like Robin stands on his own, and the Robin mythos stands on its own.
But it hasn't always.
But it is now.
But
I think that's fair, but
we live in the present.
All right, but okay, I don't refer to Dick Grayson as a sidekick anymore, but I do believe that the role of Robin is a sidekick's role. I mean, and you sort of graduate out of it, and he's just the first one to have done that. But I mean, all of the former Robins have moved on from there. How come Robin just can't be a superhero on its own? Like, it seems like it's always linked to Batman.
I feel like Robin can. I mean, even when you look at
if you want to talk about like old Teen Titans or something.
I mean, if you want to go through Tim Drake's run as Robin in the 90s, I mean, it went for hundreds of issues.
Who's he now?
And now he's Red Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
I'm just saying.
There's also a whole legion of Robins in the comic series We
sidekicks.
Are Robin. There's tons of Robinlings.
I don't think that it's a derogatory
they're all
thing
sidekicks
to say
with each other.
that Robin is a sidekick. Yeah, what a group of sidekicks.
I just think it's fair to say that they're partners, though.
I mean, but a sidekick is a partner. I find those words to be, or those terms to be interchangeable, honestly.
And those truths to be self-evident.
Yeah.
So if you call your wife a sidekick, will she be down with that?
I don't know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
I don't even know if I'm allowed to call her a partner,
Exactly.
honestly. I might be her sidekick.
Don't try it now. We gotta do the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But Jeff, well, I'll put the same question to you then. Is Robin the greatest sidekick of all time?
I think it's without question he's the greatest sidekick of all time. Like, if if his partner Batman is at least in the argument and conversation of like greatest superhero of all time, it's like I feel Robin exceeds that from the sidekick partner role, and there's nobody that really even comes close.
Yeah, I think the closest I think is Bucky, and I don't think it's that.
And
close.
Bucky to me was always a pale imitation of Robin, and I think there's a reason why he was dead for so many decades. It worked when it did, and then also like if you understand the concept of like those old Captain America comic books, it's like the mascot of the military base was James Barnes. Like he wasn't old enough to be a soldier originally. I know a lot of stuff had to be retconned just to make it not stupid. But I mean, it's like it was incredibly dumb back then, you know. The
mascot of the Roman military was Caligula. Look how that turned out for them.
So it's like, so like what Bucky originally was, it's like is nothing compared to Robin. And then even as Winter Soldier, he has not exceeded like those. He hasn't reached the same heights as Dick Grayson or anybody like that.
If anything, he's a better.
He's a Marvel Jason Todd. And yeah, exactly. I would say that Speedy is a better sidekick than Bucky as well.
Yeah, I only threw that one out because I think they look, somewhat similar.
Well, no, they definitely are good counterparts for each other. The fact that Captain America and Batman have, come together a couple of times and are compared to one another in certain ways, even though they carry themselves very differently. It's like, Robin and Bucky are much similar. So it's like, I totally get that.
And the other thing with Robin, too, is that there's more than one version of him that is very well received. And I would say that most versions of Robin are, very near and dear to a lot of comic readers and Batman fans' hearts. I guess if we had to, each champion a Robin, I think Dick Grayson obviously is the runaway favorite. But what is it about Dick Grayson, Jeff, that is just like, the makes him the best Robin, the best of them?
I think because out of all of them, and it's funny because somebody else is actually the son of Batman. I consider Dick Grayson Batman Jr. His origin is almost exactly the same. And it's just some of the originality, I guess, that was coming from the writers of Batman at the time. But what I like about
the time, you're right.
What I like about Dick Grayson is it's like Bruce Wayne's chance to like befriend his younger self and to try to put him on a different path, like a better path. Like, Dick Grayson's not going to stop being a superhero, just like Bruce Wayne. The two of them are going to continue to, dedicate their lives to, seeking justice and protecting the innocent. But Dick Grayson is a much happier person and has a much more fulfilling and like enriching life. And a lot of that is thanks to Bruce Wayne. I mean, obviously, the financial backing and taking care of him and training him and all of that, but just giving him a home, and giving him a family again. It's like Bruce didn't have that. I mean, he had Alfred's support and everything, but I mean, there was more in place for Dick Grayson, and he got to like, it's so weird. He had to be a superhero and all of this, but like, he still lived a life, he got to like go to college as like a normal college student. He was able to walk away from it when he wanted to. Dick Grayson can walk away from being a superhero when he wants to. He's not as compelled as Bruce. He's not as traumatized as Bruce, so it's like, it's like, I don't know, Batman living his best life is Dick Grayson.
But the parent thing is a great comparison because it's Batman wanting to give a better life to this kid that's in the same situation as him and the sacrifices that he made. I think they did a great job illustrating sort of the differences between the two in the animated series and the sort of follow-ups with that. Like you said, there are seasons or, periods of time where he's away at college and stuff. And, when they do the flash forward episodes with how they have parted ways and everything. And they did a really good job of that. John, did you want to weigh in on the sidekick stuff or your love or disdain for, is your favorite Robin Joseph Gordon-Levitt from Dark Knight?
No, I was going to say, I don't think there's a better sidekick than Robin, and I don't think there's a better Robin than Chris O'Donnell. So
damn right.
I think you have my vote.
He was you know what?
I thought he did fine.
He did do
fine.
He was
great.
Yeah.
He should come back and do it again.
Batboy, Nightwing. What's a good sidekick's name?
And at the time, a reference like that to Nightwing is
he had the
had
the Nightwing logo in Batman and Robin.
Yeah. But I mean, like, but that was, context going back to that. It's like that's all we could hope for. It's like, oh, he said Nightwing. That's so cool.
I know.
Mark, what about you though? Who is your favorite Robin? And if it's Dick Grayson, flesh out another one though, because I know you got love for all of them.
So I mean, if you have to boil it down to one, it's going to be Dick Grayson. I mean, OG, he made Robin what it is something to be desired. But secondary to Dick Grayson is going to be Tim Drake. I mean, he brings a side to Batman as being the super tech savvy, very intelligent, highly motivated counterpart, and the fact that he like discovers Batman's identity. That's how he gets introduced into it all. I like his ability with the bow staff. I like how he really comes to his own as a leader for like the new updated Teen Titans and so forth. Tim Drake is a seminal Robin, especially again coming from growing up in the 90s and reading the books then. That was the Robin run going on, and tons of books. All the Robin standalones were him, except for Robin Year One, which came out later. But everything else was Tim Drake, and he is great. Even his Red Robin runs with the Grail were fantastic. Really dig on him. And then someone that and there's been a number of people. I mean, we got Damian Wayne, which I think we all kind of share.
Terrible.
He doesn't have a great personality, but he's been doing his thing
plays
for
his
11
role.
years. Yeah, right. Exactly.
I think Jeff hit on it perfectly. Is that we don't even need Damian Wayne because Dick Grayson is already Batman's son.
Well,
in as much as that Batman needs a son, and he really doesn't, because
I feel like Damian Wayne's biggest piece though is tying in the Ra's al Ghul bloodline and all that, which makes him just a bigger character. But Jason Todd as Robin, everyone knows he wasn't great. That's why they killed him. He is wonderful as the Red Hood. Dig that a lot. Not very well versed with Stephanie Brown, but her Batgirl is fantastic, and she wouldn't have gotten there without being Robin first. But someone who the spoiler, and she's back to being the spoiler again. But Carrie Kelly from the Dark Knight universe is a fantastic Robin, first full-time like female Robin in that sense. She even donned the cowl in the Master Race and eventually became Batgirl. She is a fantastic Robin as well. So I think she is owed a lot of credit.
I want to circle back to Jason Todd, because while I don't think he's the best Robin, going back to that Bucky comparison and comparing him to the Winter Soldier, I think you can make the argument that Jason Todd has one of the most impactful deaths in comics. The fact that they put it to the fans to vote, and they killed him, and they killed him brutally, and how they brought him back was a masterstroke and created, and in my opinion, a really awesome character in the Red Hood. So I just, looking at Jason Todd, he has a lot of fans out there because of who he became after Robin. And I think like I really love Winter Soldier, and I like his sort of tortured arc maybe a little bit more than Jason Todd's and the Red Hood. But I think that there definitely is the argument in terms of like the nobody stays dead in comics that Jason Todd's was done the best, from death to resurrection. It's a very cool story. So yeah, that it's wild that they put it to a vote. And they voted to kill him. I probably would be the same result if they did it on Twitter today, though.
Oh yeah.
Still, the people are vicious. But I think.
Well, they said it was close. I don't know.
I don't think it would be as close today.
Like
I think it would be. People want to see somebody get bumped off. I feel like.
Well, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, that's one of the things is the Red Hood is an amazing character, and so I don't forgive them for bringing Jason Todd back. But I do love the idea and the concept of just an impactful death in comics.
Of course.
I mean, and so it's kind of a pain in the ass because I like Winter Soldier and I like Red Hood. But at the same time, it would have been great if both those characters had also just stayed dead. And it's like that's why I like Gwen Stacy being dead, and I know she's come back and things like that. But I mean, in my head canon, she's dead.
I think it's great that at least Jason Todd was dead for like 20 years. I mean, that's in comic book time. That's like generations of comic books.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, and then Bucky.
I was going to say about Bucky is that people lived and died with Bucky just being dead the entire time. So, like, I got to give Marvel its credit for that.
It was only a matter of time before a comic book company was going to have to buckle. And
what about?
I absolutely love Red Hood Jason Todd, though. I think he is just beautifully done. The way that he comes back. just with a vengeance, essentially. The writing that Judd Winnick put in behind the revitalization of Jason Todd is phenomenal. I think that's absolutely one of the seminal Batman works of the past few decades. And for anyone who's not like terribly familiar with it, don't worry. There is an animated version that came out. There's an animated movie that you guys should check out, Under the Red Hood. But
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, but
I remember a show called Movie Night reviewed that, and it was excellent.
It was a great show.
Excellent.
And some idiot canceled it.
Yeah.
Well, winners.
But Judd Winnick's writing, just in general, is one of my personal favorites. He had a huge multi-year run, not only on Batman but also on Green Arrow, and a lot of my favorite Green Arrow stories are written by him. Yeah.
Before we leave the Robins, I was just going to say I also like their relationships with each other and their personalities. Because Mark bringing up Jason Todd, one thing I like about that is Batman, of course, feels very guilt-ridden about everything that happened with Jason Todd, and always has, and he should. But then, like, when there was the competition of who was going to be the next Batman, and just like, Dick Grayson does not like Jason Todd. For one, he was a horrible successor to him as far as wearing the yellow cape. And then just his entire attitude and what he has as far as like impact on Bruce Wayne's mentality and everything like that. That's why I liked when Dick Grayson was Batman. He took down the Jason Todd Robin costume in the Batcave, and he goes, it's like that was Bruce's cross to bear, not mine. And I also like the friendship between Tim Drake and Dick Grayson, because Tim Drake is my second favorite Robin as well. Not only did we kind of grow up with him, but I do like him as the little detective. I think it is important that there is a Robin who kind of reflects that part of Batman. And I've never really looked at Dick Grayson as like that much of a detective. I feel that he does everything that Batman does, just not as well, other than the acrobatics. It's like that's kind of his greatest strength, that and also just his personality. Hey, you love Dick Grayson, first of all. Yeah, but
talking's great.
And then I love that that Tim Drake was almost offended that Dick Grayson didn't choose him to be his Robin when he was Batman. He chose Damian Wayne, and then the whole thing was he misunderstood. Dick Grayson chose Damian Wayne because Damian has a lot of problems, and he thought he could be a good mentor for him. It's like Tim Drake doesn't need me to be his mentor. He'll move on just fine. I think it would have been cool if he had asked Tim Drake to be Nightwing, but too late for that.
Well, most notably, Damian Wayne's problem is the fact that he was created. He's a terrible character in a piss-poor addition to the Batman mythos.
I kind of like go back and forth with Damian Wayne, because I absolutely don't like him, but I'm not supposed to either. He is a very unlikable character, and that's how he's written. I feel like Batman. I know he has a fan base
like that.
But I think of like Kingdom Come, and there was a Ra's al Ghul grandson who was Bruce Wayne's son in that as well. There was a Red Robin, but it was Dick Grayson. Like there were things that they took from that, and then it ended up being real. And it's like if Bruce Wayne was going to have a child, it's like I kind of do like the idea that it's an Al Ghul as well. So
I think that's a huge part of the mythos. And if anything, it just elevates like Ra's al Ghul as like one of the top villains in Batman, is this whole story arc of the mantle and everything, and then tying in the bloodlines with Talia. I'm not a huge Damian Wayne guy either, but I like how, I don't know, it's like ingrained itself within Batman, well, to the genetic level, right? As this huge part of his mythos now. I think it adds an extra layer of depth with the League of Assassins, and the fact that Damian was raised to be this super assassin, so he has a real big chip on his shoulder and a ton of attitude, and having him work through those kinks, especially with the rest of the Bat family, like you said, how you like seeing them all interact, and they all kind of treat him like the asshole little brother, but with like love.
They do.
Yeah, I don't think there's any love.
Yeah, there's this one issue where like the entire Bat family, the extended Bat family, Batman takes all of his kids out to dinner. He takes out, again, it's Dick Grayson, it's Jason Todd as the Hood
Damian
after being reformed a bit, Damian, Tim Drake, and they all go to like Gotham Burger or a certain kind of like joint like that, right?
How can Bruce Wayne
all
even do that?
Down and they're all getting burgers.
They all have sliders.
And Gotham Burger is all themed off like the different heroes in town and things like that, sort of like the CC Jitters and Flash and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they serve Damian Wayne like a kid's meal because he's a boy.
He's a kid.
And the toy that comes with it is a Red Hood. And he gets all offended that he's given a Red Hood figure, and Jason Todd's just like elbowing him and nudging him. It was cute.
I like that stuff too. I think all that's cute. Yeah, I think that's really cool too.
Damian Wayne and Batcow, two things that should have never entered.
Batcow's cool.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Batcow's cool.
You can talk about it in a second because the next question is
Batcow's all right.
Because the Bat. No, he's not. The Bat family, has other characters beyond Robin that we've come to really love, and so beyond Robin, who is your sort of favorite addition to Batman's allies? John, we'll start with you.
I probably can't name any besides Alfred and like maybe Lucius Fox.
Well, there's Commissioner Gordon,
Batgirl.
There's Alfred, Batgirl.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Gordon is always really, really cool and had a really interesting relationship with Batman. I feel like he's the only civilian that understands Batman, but he doesn't really understand him. He just understands their relationship, and nobody else does, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I personally, I really like Commissioner Gordon as well. And while I did not mind the Commissioner Gordon in the original, Tim Burton and then Schumacher Batman movies, by the end of it, I didn't like him. He was kind of, goofy and stupid. The first one, he was okay.
He's too old.
Yeah, he was too old. But that was one of the things that with like Gary Oldman playing Commissioner Gordon, the Commissioner Gordon from Batman the Animated Series, in the comic books, Commissioner Gordon, I think, is maybe my favorite. Alfred's close because I do love Alfred and his relationship to Bruce throughout the years and what they've done with that. But I would have to go with Commissioner Gordon. And there's this great scene where the two of them, I think it's like New Year's or something like that, and they end up at this diner together and they sort of ring in the new year because it's like another year that they managed to live through together in Gotham City, which is a terrible fucking place.
It's the murder capital of the free world.
Yes.
So yeah.
With
Batman.
Did you ever read the Commissioner Gordon run as Batman where he takes up the mantle?
No, I did not. I remember seeing that, and I remember, I don't know. It's just that's not for me. It's
a Snyder run, so I know you've liked other Snyder content.
I know it was a Snyder. I knew it was a Snyder run, but there was a few things working against it for me. I was moving, and so I jumped off books and stuff like that. And then when I see again, I like Bruce being Batman.
All I gotta say is mech suit Batman.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm not into it.
It was pretty cool.
It
wasn't the best. I'm not gonna lie. It's not the best.
Doc Ock Spider-Man. You liked Doc Ock Spider-Man, so
superior Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be Bruce though, James?
Because that's who Batman is.
Mark even said Bruce Wayne is the important part of Batman.
But
I will say, but as the Batman mythos grows in Gotham City, it becomes more. It becomes the cowl, the mantle, and that's the whole battle of the cowl experience where we got introduced to Damian Wayne in the first place.
And some of that has been done. Some of that has been done really well. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to pick up one Batman book, by and large, I want it to be fucking Bruce Wayne. It's just there's a larger. If I go to a movie, it sure as shit better be Bruce Wayne. Like there's no reason.
What if it's like a McDonald's toy?
A McDonald's toy, fine. Like I even said that some of the
there better be a Bruce Wayne Batman in the collection. Not necessarily. That's a great figure.
Here's my thing.
Like Black Mirror and Gates of Gotham were Dick Grayson Batman stories, and they were excellent. But that's not what I want all the time. It's not that I look more almost as like an Elseworlds thing.
I think going back to what Jeff was saying earlier, that he's not relatable. While I agree with that, I think part of the appeal is that he is a human. He's very human. He has human vulnerabilities. And because of that, he kind of represents an ideal that we all would like to represent if we were fabulously wealthy and intelligent and in great shape. Like you would hope that if you were a billionaire, you would use your money for good, not for evil, the way Bill Gates and his wife are. And so
I would have just said Lex Luthor, but all right.
Yeah. Lex Luthor is a great example.
I would like to say on record that I appreciate Jeff Bezos and his quick delivery times in this very trying period in our lives. So thank you, Jeff
Bezos is Batman. Yeah, so I think while he's not relatable, that's what makes it very impactful, more so than a lot of other comic book superheroes. And for that reason, I feel like it's okay if Batman isn't always Bruce Wayne. I hear you on the movie thing because, it takes a long time to make these movies.
Yes.
They haven't told. There's so many stories that they haven't told.
That they haven't fucking done yet. Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. So why waste a movie on now? If they were making movies simultaneously, maybe it would be okay, and they were just pumping out a ton of Batman movies. But then I think that they wouldn't be as impactful. But I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that he's one of the only heroes
to 10
that
picture deals, like, or 20 picture deals.
Like Ben Affleck.
Makes him unique,
Ironclad.
He's one of the only heroes that can be played by anyone other than someone other than Bruce Wayne.
Well, okay, so what I will say to that is that there is a cool pulp era superhero called the Phantom, which we have discussed in years past, and they do a really good job of sort of from the outset. It is this sort of cool idea that the identity of the Phantom is passed down through generations and stuff like that, and that's your buy-in going into it, though. It's like established. There's I think by in the first issue probably already been like 19 Phantoms or 13 Phantoms or something like that by the time that you pick up that original pulp.
It's a mantle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there are things that like cool storytelling elements that you can do with that. And again, I have enjoyed some Dick Grayson stories as Batman, but at the end of the day, it always comes back to Bruce. It has to. He's Batman. Just like I've enjoyed some Miles Morales Spider-Man stuff, but Peter Parker will always be the Spider-Man to me.
Is it the origin story that hooks you in like that?
I think it's the fact that, like, look at, like, Batman was created by Bob Kane in 1939. It's 2020, and before we even had somebody
Bill
else.
Finger.
Before we had whatever. But however you got to sleep at night. Enjoy your
Should we just list every writer who's worked on Batman?
Scott Snyder.
You probably should. I think some people would say the great thing about Batman is everyone that contributed to it.
But by the time
well, then let's give credit to no one.
Everyone gets to wear the cowl.
I think by the time that I start, and most of us become familiar with the character, so there's been decades of established, like, this is who they are. And so it just reeks of trying to, like, reinvent the wheel for no good reason. But that's a whole other topic. Let's get back to the Bat family. Marco, is Bat Cowl your favorite member besides Robin?
No, I mean, you got to give credit to Batgirl. Barbara Gordon, and I know there's a huge group of followers for Stephanie Brown, but I mean, you got to give credit to Batgirl. She is legit. And then I feel like though it's kind of exploded. There's too much. There's Batwoman. There's Spoiler.
There are too many.
There's
you're
Blue
right.
Jay. I think Harper Row that Scott Snyder shoehorned in. There's what's his name? Duke, Batwing.
Evil baby Batman.
Evil baby Batman. I think it's starting to be a little too collected, where originally Batman has like this super damaged loner kind of character that only had Alfred, and then he takes on his ward, and it's him slowly chipping away. And I like him having like his extended family, but still keeping it a little more nuclear, if you would. A handful. But now, Jesus Christ, Bruce, like, you're letting everyone, like, there's so many people operating one of the stories that I don't appreciate, Batman Incorporated, where Batman goes global, and now he has his own military army all over the world, and there's like Bat Knight, whoever in the UK, and I was just like, Bat Knight and Squire, I think it was his like Robin counterpart. It's just Batman Incorporated. I'm not wowed by Grant Morrison. Sorry, like, you lost me there.
It's fair. Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Jeff, how about you? Who's your sort of favorite representative from the Bat family besides Robin?
Well, I love everybody that everyone said so far, but yeah, I was going to go with Alfred. I love Alfred Pennyworth. The Alfred that we know, basically, not any of like the original concept. I like the one who's been loyal to the Wayne family, helped raise Bruce, has supported him throughout the years. I mentioned it in the outline, and it's like it's so random because the movie, of course, is kind of panned, but Batman and Robin, there's Alfred is dying in the movie, and Bruce Wayne asks him, I think it's after Batgirl was complaining that Alfred had to basically sacrifice his life to just take care of the Waynes, and then so Bruce Wayne asked him if he regrets his life choices and where he's at, and then Alfred says, "Taking care of heroes, sir." It's like, I just love the idea that everything that Batman and Robin and all of them really have accomplished, it's thanks to Alfred just supporting a young boy who had lost everything. And it's like, I don't know. It's very touching. I'm about to get Kevin Smith here. If I talk about Alfred for too long. But yeah, that's why Alfred means so much
Gotham
to me.
has
I really
done
do
nothing but get worse and worse and worse over the years since Batman arrived on the scene.
Well,
I mean,
Alfred
Michael
gets some of the blame
too.
I was just gonna say,
like him
why do we
getting
fall,
teared up.
Master Bruce?
And I don't think there's been a bad Alfred in like any TV show or movie. I've liked all of the iterations of him. I think every actor's really done a good job with it, and they all bring their own thing, and yet it's very similar and consistent. And I love that.
It's kind of like there's so many good Ebenezer Scrooge portrayals out there, but yeah, all the Alfreds have been really good. Yeah, Michael Caine with the whole "you still haven't given up on me," like never. So good. I like what you said. They all have brought something different. All right, Bruce has had his fair share of the ladies in his life. We're gonna play Marry Fuck Kill on some of his greatest loves. Hey, this was suggested in the segments, so we're gonna do it here right now on the greatest loves of his life. And I'm going to. I'll start. I think you marry Vicky Vale, you fuck Catwoman, because she's never going to go fully straight. You know, she's always going to be lured back to that life of crime. Although I do think she is Bruce's greatest love. I just don't think it's ever meant to be. So you can't marry her.
How tragic you are.
Indeed. And you
gotta marry Catwoman. She's the only one that truly understands who Bruce is, because Bruce is Batman.
And
Bruce and Selina is Catwoman.
You gotta kill Talia al Ghul so that Damian Wayne doesn't come into the picture. So that's where I break it down. And R.I.P. Silver St. Cloud. So she's already dead. But who do you got, Jeff?
Is it just the loves? We're not doing any of the other women too?
Anybody you want. Anybody
you want. Okay, cool. I still say marry Catwoman. Hey, nothing wrong with Dick Grayson.
Yeah, right.
No, you marry Catwoman, because I agree with Mark. Selina Kyle's like perfect partner, because you can have Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne, and you have Catwoman and Batman. And
Bat, dude.
I'm thinking of all the time she's just been like devoted to him in like Elseworlds and things like that. And it's like, I think the two of them are just like the perfect match. If I can fuck her without anything bad happening to me, it's gonna be Poison Ivy.
Yes.
I don't want to.
You're gonna get a rash.
It's like I don't want to start scratching myself until like I'm ripping flesh off of my body.
Lather yourself in ointment.
I died a couple days. Might still be worth it.
My trunk fell off.
And then
just pick up a pile of leaves.
My
and
taproot.
Fuck that, Jeff. Jesus Christ.
And then I'm killing Harley Quinn, because
nice.
It's not that she's not sexy, but like I'm not attracted to Harley Quinn that much, because she's just so fucking weird.
She's a mess.
And then I don't need to bring in all that shit with the Joker and everything. Like, one of the scenes that made me like so uncomfortable in Suicide Squad was when Joker was just hassling that gang guy to fuck Harley Quinn. And it's like, dude, I just came to this meeting to set up a business deal with you. I just want to commit crimes with you, Joker. Why are you guys doing this to me? Like, yeah, she's sexy. No, she's not sexy. Just, can I leave the room, please? Like,
it's a regular
let's pretend this didn't happen.
Joker. Mark, who you taking?
Well, I'm going to echo Jeff, and I already kind of blurted it out there, but you got to marry Catwoman. Because, again, she knows Bruce. She knows Batman. This is exactly what you need. You need it for your whole life. He's happy.
He's got to be tragic. He's got to be tragic.
And that was one of the things in Tom King's run in the comics was
kids.
Like the wedding of Batman and Catwoman, which fell apart because Selina had to run free. She's a wild cat.
Garbage.
It was
garbage
good.
ending.
It
Garbage
was good.
story.
There was so much heart. There was so much heart in there.
Mute this
and
man.
They should have gotten married, and it's
anymore.
Destroying me emotionally that Batman
Bill
was
Finger would have never written this garbage. Bob Kane wouldn't have allowed him to.
The wedding wasn't even Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. It was Batman and Catwoman on a rooftop.
Those aren't legal names. That's not going to be recognized by the state.
It doesn't matter if it's recognized by the state. They got married to each other, but they didn't. It was very tragic. So you got to lock her down. She's going to run free.
So that's
you got to marry Catwoman.
You're going the long way around the barn here.
You're going to fuck Talia al Ghul. Why? Because
so we get Damian Wayne.
No!
It's super taboo because she is the daughter of the demon's head. You know how crazy that is?
Wait, so he's going to be thinking about Ra's al Ghul while he's fucking her?
Yeah. Dude, you're getting one under on one of your greatest enemies. Like the thrill,
Mark,
the cheap
I
thrill
feel like
behind
I understand you so much more now.
that. Are you kidding? And then of course, you got a baby out of it, so like trophies. And kill Vicky Vale, man. Like, I don't need some reporter snooping around my second life.
She
know
does
what I
weigh
mean?
a lot more than 108.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get
really?
rid of her. You gotta get rid of her. You need that anonymity.
Finally.
I mean,
finally
I got
John.
a wife and I got Talia al Ghul. Like I need anonymity. I can't have a reporter sneaking around.
I just
me.
like to say that our first foray into this children's game is a huge success. John, who do you got?
I mean, mine is strictly within the movie realm, and I feel like this is a little greedy, but in terms of fuck, I think if you can get a 2-for-1, you get sugar and spice.
Nice. I'll allow it.
The Two Faces chicks.
Yeah.
If not, then I think you're going with Catwoman
That's
or
tremendous.
Poison Ivy. And then Mary, I think you marry Rachel Dawes, played by Katie Holmes, and you kill Rachel Dawes, played by Maggie.
John wins the game. That's a clean sweep. That is tremendous. I agree.
She's got to go, dude. She's got to go.
Yeah, just freaking let him on. That's tremendous. All right,
Dude,
you're
not never done.
You're not gonna fuck Michelle Pfeiffer in her prime though. Dear
That's
God,
true too.
dude.
That Catwoman.
Sexy ass Catwoman.
All right.
I mean,
let's
Sugar and spice though. That's hilarious.
Uma Thurman.
That is, I would have never thought of that. That's
a good
one.
one.
John, you win. All right, let's talk about Batman's Rogues Gallery. And it's, simple question to start. I would hope that we would all be in the affirmative on this, but does Batman have the greatest Rogues Gallery in all of comic history? Mark, I start with you because you're the one I have the most doubt about saying yes to this question.
Well, yes, of course he does. The only one that possibly comes in comparison is Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something stupid for a second. Something stupid and fast.
How dare you? It's got to be Spider-Man is the best one. But Batman's is just fantastic. The fact that there's a myriad of both, supernatural, magical, just crime bosses, freaky tech people, mad scientists, insane people. The fact that they have a special prison to lock away his baddies, you know what I mean? Arkham Asylum is huge. Like, yeah, greatest Rogues Gallery. I think you can have a plethora of movies and games and comics and just never get tired. And they all blend so well together. Just the fact that they also have intermingling battles with each other. Like the War of Jokes and Riddles from a few years back, and
I can guess who was involved in that.
Yeah, and Arkham City,
the trick list.
Right? But like the Arkham City, where it's like all the different villains took over different segments of the city and kind of having warring
For
tribes
Asylum,
and gangs.
but I get to what you're saying.
It's so good.
Yeah, no, I am glad that you said that. I was worried that you were going to throw a like Jeff said, a speedy curveball our way and say the Flash had the greatest Rogues Gallery. He does not. And I'm glad
they are the Rogues. If you go, they are titular the Rogues.
All right, so we can all agree that Batman has the greatest Rogues Gallery of all time in comics. Yes, everybody.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's nodding. All
Maybe
right,
just the greatest Rogues Gallery ever. Like, I mean, my enemies do not, match up that well to Batman's enemies.
Yeah.
It transcends comics.
That's true. I mean, the Bible only has the devil and like some demons stuff too.
I don't even consider that a full gallery. Yeah.
Palette swap. So no, I'll give you that. All right. So who is on your Batman villain Mount Rushmore? So you get 4 picks on who is making your Rogues Gallery Mount Rushmore for the Cape Crusader. This was very tough in terms of trying to narrow it down to just 4. I am going Joker, Two-Face, Catwoman, and Ra's al Ghul. Is in terms of like the hardest ones to leave off for me. Riddler, Bane, and Mr. Freeze were difficult for me to leave off, but that's my Mount Rushmore. Two-Face might be the most self-indulgent pick of mine to put on the Mount Rushmore, but I do think he's an iconic Batman villain. I think he is an interesting one in terms of his prior relationship to Gotham City and being like a force for good turned villain. And he's got, just some great sort of character, the psychological dynamic to him as fleshed out in the animated series to me.
and
Yeah,
me.
yeah, Tommy Lee Jones, got to play him, but really, the best Two-Face that I think we've gotten is from the animated series. Those are some of the best episodes, his origin. So that's why he's on there. Catwoman, I know that they go back and forth, but I think that's what makes her such a great Batman villain, is that there is that romantic layer and there is that hope that she can go on the straight and narrow for good. I like the idea that she always strays back to her old habits, kind of deal. Joker goes without saying. Thank you. Joker goes without saying, and then Ra's al Ghul, I feel like, represents a very, again, that cerebral, the other detective kind of role in his rogues gallery, and also sort of the grander scope and what's at stake and everything. So that's my Mount Rushmore. Jeff, what is on your Batman rogues gallery Mount Rushmore?
This was very hard to do because he does have so many great ones. And James, you were so close. It's Joker, Catwoman, Two-Face, and Penguin.
Okay.
Which Penguin. You don't even regret.
I don't regret it. I was actually talking about this with Mark off the air. Penguin is not one of my favorite Batman villains.
He's not one of my favorites either, but I mean, that's also not necessarily my favorite 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore. But I mean, yeah, I'm talking about importance and like just how iconic they are. You ask the average person who Ra's al Ghul is, they're not going to have an answer for you. If you talk about representation, Penguin is everywhere. I mean, not only are we going to see him pop up again in a movie, I mean, he was one of the main stars of the TV show Gotham. He was one of the main characters in the Adam West Batman show. Not only do we get him as Danny DeVito,
Burgess Meredith too.
Yeah, exactly. Burgess Meredith. I mean, it's like the Penguin is just one of those characters that you always knew about.
That's true.
Like the 2 villains that I knew about the most when I was a kid, as far as Batman enemies go, it was Joker, Penguin. Those were the 2. Then probably Catwoman. If anything, Two-Face is the one that I wasn't sure if I wanted to include him in my Mount Rushmore. Riddler was the other one I was debating with. The reason I went with Two-Face is when I look at like different Elseworlds and things like that, it seems that they use the Two-Face character a lot. We were talking about some of those stories earlier. The Batman Tarzan crossover, they do a Two-Face character. With the H.P. Lovecraft story, they do an excellent Two-Face character. It's like I feel like they utilize that character a lot. And even in the Dark Knight Returns, it's like it still has an opening story with Two-Face before it gets into the Joker stuff. So he's always there. And then also the fact that, Harvey Dent was a character, and it's not just Two-Face. It's like he kind of played 2 roles in Gotham City. So it's important that, he's a part of the comic book universe, or the Batman mythos, and he's on the Rushmore.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's incredibly difficult to narrow it down. Mark, who is on your rogues gallery Mount Rushmore for the Bat?
So you got to lead off with the Joker, of course. You don't have Batman without Joker.
He's the George Washington on that Rushmore.
Yeah, Joker's constant pursuit of making Batman kind of like a better Batman. I kind of like that idea of them. It's almost like a courtship with Joker, where it is just like a long con game of them playing, and Batman's just trying to beat him down. So Joker, you got there. I'll dig the Riddler, because as detective skills and sleuthing go, no one's more tedious than the Riddler. Cool. Jim Carrey's portrayal with Batman Forever, of course, was seminal in my growing up, and I just like that. I like the Riddler representation in Gotham as well, how they tied that all in. I think that really plays the detective aspect of it. You got to go Bane, the guy that broke the man's back, because he is a very formidable tactician, the way that he's doing a lot of long games and things like that, and just being physically prowess and, again, breaking the most physically formidable opponent for Batman as a man-on-man action.
And one of the most mentally challenging, too.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. He's both.
He's great for that. And then, my Teddy Roosevelt of the Rushmore is going to be Ra's al Ghul. I get not many people know him as much, and he doesn't seem as high connected in the mythos there for maybe some of the layman's. But Ra's, I'd said this piece talking about Damon Wayne and Talia al Ghul and all that. Like, it's just become a part of, like, a very deep down part of Batman, being, his evil father-in-law, if you want a way to boil it down. But the fact that he's constantly challenging Batman to be like, become his heir with the League of Assassins, and this kind of he's coming at Batman from this other angle. It's more global. It's not just
the
Gotham.
scope is completely bigger with him, for sure.
Yeah, and so I think there's heavier stakes with him in the mix.
John, you in my opinion won the last little mini game that we did here. What do you got for Batman's Mount Rushmore? Sugar and Spice, take 2.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything clever for this one. I'm just going Joker, Catwoman, Two-Face, and Riddler.
Now, are all those just the film,
Jim Carrey's
film
Riddler.
portrayals?
Same reason as Mark. Yeah.
That's why I wanted to make sure that we're just going. So is it Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face on there too, or is it Aaron Eckhart?
Yeah, I'll go Tommy Lee Jones for sure.
Wow,
Although I did like Aaron Eckhart. Although I did say in the Discord, I would be down to have Jim Carrey as the Riddler in this new movie, playing a completely different tone.
He could do it too. I mean, Jim Carrey is that, in my opinion, that talented of an actor. I like Jim Carrey in serious stuff as well. We decidedly will not get that, but I had no problem. Batman Forever is one of those that I had that. I love Jim Carrey Riddler from Batman Forever for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Also, gosh, I guess I should have thrown Dr. Chase Meridian in on the
oh god damn.
It's the best Nicole Kidman has ever looked. All right, before we go to break, I want to talk about maybe your personal favorite Batman villain that doesn't get enough mainstream run, in your opinion. For me, and Jeff, I know you'll appreciate this because we've imitated certain scenes with him a lot over the years. It's like tensing a muscle. Clayface from Batman the Animated Series is definitely one that I would love to see get a little bit more love. But his story in the comics and other media is so convoluted and stupid. That's what I love about the animated series version. They just threw all of that out. We're like, no, we're just doing this. He's an actor. Rupert Thorne, go. And it was awesome. That's the Clayface I'd like to see more of. Jeff, how about you?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I echo that sentiment about Clayface, but I'll pick a different character just to make it more interesting. I'll say Mad Hatter. Yeah. So Mad Hatter. Really? I would love to see him in a movie. I would do Mad Hatter. Here's how I would do it. I would kind of do it like with that Robin Year One stuff where he's in child trafficking and
very dark.
And then also like the creepy like pedophilic undertones they always did with him. I would have loved to have seen a Mad Hatter in Nolan's Batman universe because I feel he's enough down to earth of a character that you could have done it with him. And they could have made it really dark and creepy and somebody that Batman could have defeated. And I would have liked to have seen that. So, yeah, I mean, other than like the cartoon series, it's like I don't really see the Mad Hatter anywhere. So
he's been in some of the Arkham games, but and he's definitely a villain
I don't play those.
That nobody would leave the theater like having like rooted for or thinking was cool. He is somebody that you definitely would want to see Batman kick his ass, which is
and I do like the idea of just an unsympathetic villain. Like I don't always have to relate or think that there's different shades of gray or they're the hero in their own tale type thing. It's like sometimes there's just a guy that Batman has to stop. I mean, if we're gonna go that far, how about one of the greatest Batman villains of all time, Sewer King from Batman the Animated Series?
Yes.
Batman did not give a shit when he thought he died. He was like, he deserved it. That's what Batman said.
How about that fat guy running the work camp that Bruce Wayne
I hate that episode. I hate that episode.
It's the one bad episode they did.
Oh my God. I'll start my homework early.
They aired it all the time.
I would turn off the TV and start my homework early every time that episode aired. I almost feel like it was a conspiracy to make kids start their work.
Instrumental country music. Anyway, Mark, who's your underrated Batman villain?
I'll just throw out a real quick about Mad Hatter, though. His representation in the Gotham TV series was top notch. Was actually really well done.
I didn't stick with that show, but you're not the only person who I know who's like a big fan of it, Mark. My dad really liked it.
Yeah, there's a few things that did really good, and a lot of it you kind of had to take it with
just ignore and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's kind of like what my dad did too. Yeah,
that one was really good, and his whole indoctrination with Alice and everything like that was well done.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want like the obsession with like a youngish girl or whatever, and he considers her Alice, and he builds like this entire like weird psychosis in his mind as far as like this world that they're living in and everything. It could get really weird, and it would be awesome.
He's a disgusting villain.
Yeah. He is a disgusting. I mean, he even physically looks repulsive. So it's like with the goofy teeth and shit. I'd love to see him get that crap kicked out of him.
But one I'll throw out that I always enjoy seeing is the ventriloquist. And so when you get the ventriloquist, of course, you get Scarface, and they are really a duo, because I like the really dark representations of it, where it's clear that Scarface is Scarface. He is calling all the shots, and ventriloquist is clearly a pawn. It's not like, oh, maybe he's a sick guy with a puppet. No, it's Scarface telling him what to do, and he's just as much a victim of Scarface as everyone else in the room. I really like those representations of the ventriloquist, and I'd love to see that actually adapted out into a live action, because I think it would be something easy enough to do, and dummies do good.
Dead Silence, great.
I feel like if nothing else, is that not a character that you could fit in like at the beginning of a Batman movie? You know, it's just a character that he's taking. I feel like that's how they could make the world richer and bigger, is you have like that kind of like throwaway villain. I mean, it was always cool seeing the Scarecrow return in the later Nolan films, but like those roles could have been fit by just like other rogues as well, which would have been cool.
Yeah, especially with the Arkham Asylum of things, like that guy's crazy. He's playing with the doll.
Exactly. When
he's
you say
murderous.
When you say Scarface is a separate character, you still mean like a split psychosis, right? It's not like a separate entity, or
almost like a demonic doll that only lives by possession of hand.
See, I prefer that the ventriloquist is so screwed up.
He's
and
actually
he has,
crazy.
Well,
but I mean the
split
way
personality,
it's conveyed in like the story and all of it, like you don't get that like, oh, this ventriloquist. Like it really comes across like the ventriloquist is as much of a victim,
but he is crazy.
Of Scarface's. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the ventriloquist is still a victim, and you should feel sorry for him. I mean, he's sick, but I do like the idea that the ventriloquist is the kind of person that you would let your guard down around, and then like he'd bash some Arkham guard's head in from behind, and then get the doll during the breakout, and then as soon as he gets the doll back, doll's in full control.
And finally, you, John. Who's somebody you want to see get more
just
run?
Imagining Brian Regan, whoever that comedian is that plays with the dolls
Jeff
on stage.
Dunham.
Yeah, Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham, yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not racist. It's the doll. What are you talking about? I don't know. I'd like to see more Scarecrow.
I think that has been his defense.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more Scarecrow and like more of the kind of psychological warfare that can come into play there. Not just like toxic, gas.
Fear gas.
But yeah, but like really... I think part of Batman's growth is not just like the physicality and being tested in his detective skills, but it's also like mastering his own mind and his own emotions, and having someone really push him to the brink with that, who has devoted his entire life to understanding people's psychosis and emotions. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, and he definitely, I mean, what we have gotten of him, it was like a highlight in Batman Begins, and I always felt like he could have had a more fitting sort of final send-off, especially in, not knowing that we were going to see him again in Batman Begins. I was like, oh, that's how they dealt with him. But, he does pop back up through the entire series. But, yeah, he's always been a good one. I actually think he's one that I liked more in, like, the live-action movie and the video games. I liked him more than I did in the animated series.
Yeah, he's never that great in the cartoon. Although I do like the episode where Robin is, like, the lingering effects of the fear gas and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he was really cool.
Yeah,
that would be.
He was really cool in Injustice 2. I don't know if you guys played that game.
Yes,
like, his abilities were really, really awesome. He had great reach, and his like the use of like the toxic gas and like making people crazy was cool.
I love the introductions like to the fights where like he'll walk out and he's just turning on the gas, and then you see the mutation and the change. Yeah. That's always really cool. I like that effect.
Some of his moments in the Arkham games are really good too. All right, we're gonna take one more break. On the other side, we're gonna talk about one of Batman's good time buddies. We're gonna talk about Superman and Batman, and we're gonna talk about Bats on film a little bit on the other side on the Best Damn Nerd Show. Welcome back to the Best Damn Nerd Show. We are celebrating Batman Day, and now I want to talk about one of somebody that would be probably celebrating Batman Day, hopefully with the Caped Crusader, and that's Superman. Are they good friends, or are they better enemies? What do you make of the relationship between Batman and Supes? What do you like better? Obviously, we got Batman v Superman. I would have preferred a World's Finest maybe to start before we went that road. But Jeff, what say you?
I much prefer the two of them as friends. And that they just have different approaches to how they fight crime. I mean, honestly, the way they've done Batman over the years, he's come closer to Superman as far as the no killing and being strict about things. It's like Batman in the past almost would have been more at odds with Superman than the Batman that we have now. I feel like they very much would agree on most things. I guess that's why they continue to make Superman evil in all these Elseworld things they do, because they can't do that with Batman anymore. But yeah, I like the idea of the two of them respecting each other despite their differences. One of the things I really liked about is it the New Adventures of Batman and Robin, when or not New Adventures of Batman and Robin, it was when Batman and Superman kind of like would trade off as far as who would have an episode or something like that? Or that was with Tim Drake as Robin though, right?
That one, New Adventures was.
Yeah, New Adventures. That's what it was. It was like the first episode of New Adventures or whatever. Batman had gone missing and Tim Drake didn't really know what to do or whatever, so he went to Metropolis to get Superman's help, because like that was like Batman's note: if anything happens to me, like go to Metropolis, get Superman. And Gotham was like running amok because there was no Batman, so Superman had to dress as Batman just to make it look like Batman was present. And then Tim Drake was like feeding him lines as far as like, this is what Batman would say, or they were interrogating criminals or something like that. And Tim Drake's like, kick the table, and Superman's like, what? He's like, Batman would kick the table right now, and Superman kicks the table and it goes flying across the room. And then the criminals completely like freak out, and like he is interacting with Commissioner Gordon, but he's really uncomfortable because he knows how long their friendship's been together and everything like that. And when they leave, Gordon's like, did he seem taller to you? Like, it's like they could tell there was just like this different presence. But I love their team ups. I don't like the old team ups like from the 70s or whatever, where it seems like Superman's babysitting Batman and Robin and like they're too powerless. I like it when they both have something to contribute. I love the Masters of the Universe Justice League crossover because Superman goes missing pretty fast because he was powerless against Skeletor. And it's Batman for the first time ever, I think, who like refers to Superman as his best friend. And I was like, it's more important for me to hear Batman say it than Superman.
God, I relate so much to that.
Because I feel like Superman... Because I feel like Superman's going to be the first...
visceral level.
Like, Superman's going to say, I love you in the relationship first. And so to hear Batman be upset that Superman has gone missing... It's like, I don't know. It made the story even more for me. All right.
I have to go read that.
And I was already watching like He-Man teaming up with them. So, I mean, all of it was gold, but like that was especially good.
That's tremendous. Yeah. I'm just read that. John, what about you? Do you prefer to see them as friends or trolling one another and adversaries?
I understand the two alpha dogs barking at each other and I don't mind seeing it, but I feel like it's not a place that's super interesting to dwell on for too long. Because you kind of understand there's only one way that Batman beats Superman, and that's by cheating. Yeah. Just just going by raw natural power, it's not gonna go well. He has to like steal something from Superman's planet and use it against him. But like I thought the weakest part of Justice League was when Superman wakes up and is like pissed. It's like, let's just have him wake up and let's just get into it. Like there, you can do so much more. And there's so many interesting components and pieces and villains like in both of their worlds that if you just get out of your own way, you can see some really cool stuff. But instead we're like, someone's upset at the other person and it's like a pissing match for another half a movie. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good point. Cause while I liked how that scene was done, we did get kind of a short shrift with the villain in Justice League anyway. And I would have preferred a nicer Superman waking up and just being like, I made the noble sacrifice and now we're a team kind of deal. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Resurrection is traumatizing.
Dude. Jesus Christ. We
look no further than Lazarus Fits.
Mark, what do you prefer?
Good point, Mark.
Of course, I love them as friends. I think it's great whenever you see them clash because it's typically done in a fashion where it's when they're first getting to know each other, because you got to think like at the onset.
So that's their approach. That's their approach, is to just clash at each other like that. That's one of my favorite things about Batman Year One, is that they make a reference to that guy in Metropolis and what he's doing, and Bruce Wayne smiles.
But that's just like, where you think of I mean, you can look at these characters though, where they're each operating in their own sphere. Like Batman's running Gotham, Superman's running Metropolis, sort of thing like that, right? And when they finally come to head, they got to get used to being the big dogs in one pen. And so there might be a clash of personalities, and they come to blows, but ultimately they always come together for a greater good. And through that, a new friendship is formed. And so them being friends is absolutely key, and much better than them whenever they're clashing. It's always cool to see it when it does happen, but it should only happen once when they're kind of coming together initially.
But there's other ways for them to come together though. Like they could as much
fight.
as it becomes like a physical sparring match between the two, it could also be like a mental sparring match where each one is kind of almost using the other person and trying to like manipulate them for their own tasks because they view their crimes or whatever that they're solving is more important than the other person. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like, how long is it going to take Batman to figure out that kryptonite can destroy Superman? It could be something totally different, but all we ever see is, how it plays out.
I just really would have loved a World's Finest movie, and I feel like we missed probably our only opportunity.
Yeah, it's not happening in our lifetime.
It,
definitely them as friends and partners is far and away better. That's why they've had so many different series of it being them duoed. Was Jeff Loeb's Superman Batman series was fantastic, absolutely great seeing them together, leading into Trinity too as well when you tie in Wonder Woman. But there was a recent thing again. This was during the courtship of Catwoman and Batman, right under Tom King's run. But Selina and Bruce go on a double date with Clark and Lois, because it's like we got to make the spouses kind of meet each other, get the nod of approval from the best friend sort of thing in that relationship. And so they
Don't
go to
get attached, Lois.
No, dude. So they go to a Halloween carnival, and what was absolutely delightful here is that Batman and Superman traded suits with each other. Like they all kind of traded suits. So Bruce Wayne went dressed as Superman, and Clark went dressed as Batman, and so they just got to cut loose and have fun in capes in this carnival and bond and share popcorn and do carnival games and all this stuff. And it was a very sweet and endearing issue.
That sounds actually good. That sounds like something I actually really would enjoy.
I would enjoy that. Yeah, it's like what you were saying about all the Robins going to eat burgers. It's like sometimes you need that. All right, sometimes I want a break from everything else.
Time and place
you
for
need
everything.
The heart to make
sometimes you need some levity, James.
Feel heavy.
Exactly, to earn emotion, unlike Suicide Squad when Diablo tried to give that speech. But that's a whole other topic for another time. I know time is short here. I want to talk about Bats on Film, who has played Batman the very best. We will, I guess, go as far back as to say Adam West is sort of our jumping off point, perhaps, but more so just including him and the modern era Batman, starting with
in live action stuff.
Yeah, the live action stuff. Not going to say Kevin Conroy, who obviously is phenomenal Batman on the animated series, but in terms of
he was Bruce Wayne in the Batwoman TV show.
I really wanted to watch that.
Live action feature film Batmans. So I guess honorable mention to Adam West, since he did get that one that I watched a ton as a kid.
Movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Great movie.
Sometimes you just don't know what to do with a bomb.
Submarines.
What do you do with the ranking of your Batmans? Mark, we'll start with you.
I'm always going to be impartial to Christian Bale, just because I love Christian Bale. He puts himself into every role he does. I love Christian Bale. So I think I gotta say he's number one. Gotta be. Followed by, it's really hard between Val Kilmer and Ben Affleck. I think Val Kilmer consistently gets overlooked. He was a great Batman, really good Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Along with Ben Affleck there in number 3, I think he really embodies it. I'm a Batfleck guy. Not gonna shy away from it.
No shame in that.
No shame in that. Punctuated with, Michael Keaton. Yeah,
just casually, just not a Michael Keaton guy, huh?
Here's the thing. I feel like Michael Keaton, because he first donned the Dark Knight kind of persona, if you would, right? Not necessarily but the Dark Knight. People unfairly weight his performance as the Batman. and I feel like it's a little much. It's a little
Who's your favorite
overrated.
James
I think
Bond?
he's good. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
like the movies. I like Michael Keaton, but was he the best?
It's fair. I'm just asking.
A little dry.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Okay, and beyond that, George
And then it would
Clooney,
finish-
Adam West.
George Clooney's bottom. I don't even.
Good man.
The problem with George Clooney's Batman is you look at George Clooney and you look at that guy and it's like, that's a guy that has it all. You know, you see it in his eyes. He's happy. Where's the tortured
Sounds like
youth of
Bruce
the
Wayne.
dead parents? I don't see it with him. You know he's happy. He's satiated. I don't see him as Bruce Wayne. I don't see him as Batman.
I don't know. Maybe you could like reflect on making the movie The Peacemaker or something like that. But
Nope. He just had Stacy Keebler on the line, just trailing her along, just for kicks.
I mean, I hate George
He has his
Clooney
tequila
anyway, so I
brand.
agree. I'm not trying to defend. He's a shitty Batman. He's a shitty person. I hate him. But
Salt and peppered handsome bastard.
I fucking hate George Clooney. So good on you. John, who's your Batman rankings?
Probably Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, Ben Affleck, and then everybody else. I mean, look, I feel like Ben Affleck didn't really bring much to Batman, if I'm being honest. I don't feel like there was really anything compelling about the way he played the character.
I don't
think that's necessarily his fault. I think that Zack Snyder just doesn't know what to do, and I don't think adding another hour and a half to Justice League is going to help us develop that character anymore. I just think like what was compelling about that character? Like what at that point in Bruce Wayne and Batman's life and career, what was he going through? Like just tell me about that character. Like how is that a compelling character?
Dude, he saw his city crumble and he shouldered the weight of it and he dripped charisma all over the screen. I don't know how you missed it.
He shouldered the weight, so just like not having any emotional reaction to it at all.
He did have emotional reaction.
I think he had emotional reaction to it. I would say the Ben Affleck Batman that we saw on screen was think of a guy who's been waging this war against crime for decades, and then like overnight he is completely outclassed. His world is completely gone upside down. There's a threat that it's not even something he could even have imagined, let alone prepared for. And so I don't know. You see like that crisis of faith, and it's like, well, what the hell have I been doing? He's already sort of jaded about all of those things. I would also say the other disadvantage to Ben Affleck is, of all the guys we're talking about right now, has not had a Batman movie. So I would give him a little leeway with that. But I do think all of your criticisms are fair, John. And it's making me think about my ranking order. Is it my turn? Or?
It is your turn.
Okay, I'll go Christian Bale, and I think it's because as far as his Bruce Wayne performance and his Batman performance, they're both at least passable, and I don't know if everybody gets that. So on the list, so I'm going with Christian Bale. Also, I really like those Batman movies.
He definitely seemed more of like the reckless playboy.
I think his Bruce Wayne.
He's the best Bruce.
He had it
He's
down
the best
pat,
Bruce
no
Wayne.
problem.
Yeah.
His Batman
he's
leaves
just
much to be
playing
desired.
Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, I think he
Patrick.
did take a little bit of his Pat Bateman and throw it into his Bruce Wayne. But like his Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins and actually The Dark Knight, there are some really key Bruce Wayne scenes there that I just love, like the Harvey Dent fundraiser. Like all of that was good. How he entered the room and his
I even like when they're in
that.
the like makeshift Batcave and he's like all fucked up and he's like having to come to terms with the fact that like everything has kind of been destroyed. All this stuff that he created in the first movie. It's like I don't know. He has a lot of really powerful moments in that movie.
Yeah, I like that too. So yeah, Christian Bale is my first one. I'm going Val Kilmer my second because I really do love Batman Forever. Before Christian Bale, like Batman Forever was my favorite Batman movie, hands down.
Man, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad because those movies get so much hate, and I don't know why.
I love Robin, and it was the introduction of Robin. My birthday party that year, we went to go see Batman Forever, and then we went to Pizza Hut afterwards. Still, like one of my favorite birthdays I ever had.
I think that's the only like collection of Batman toys where I've had every single toy in the collection.
Dude, that one was so great because they had like a couple of dual packs. I had the Batman and the Robin who came together, and that was one of my favorite Robin figures. I thought it was so cool. So it goes, Christian Bale, Val Kilmer, Ben Affleck, because I think just visually, I mean, he just looks like
he
Batman
looks like
to me.
Bruce Wayne.
So it's like that really puts him ahead of just some of the other guys, because I don't think anybody looks as much like Batman as Ben Affleck does.
Yeah, Ben Affleck
and I do
looks
like
the most akin to animated series.
That is true.
And I feel like that age of Batman is like my favorite age to represent, because I do like the idea of an adult Dick Grayson, and like maybe the passage of like a couple of Robins at that point, and I feel like a Ben Affleck Batman you can really do that with. Trying to think who's left. Adam West, then Michael Keaton, and then George Clooney last. But I will say, in George's defense, I do think everybody brought something to the table, and there's nothing wrong with like the comical Batman either. Adam West perfected it
long before.
Yeah, exactly. And I think George did a decent job with it. I also think he looks great because he's a really good looking guy. So he looks good as Bruce Wayne. I think his Bruce Wayne was better than his Batman because of that. But yeah, I can.
Is there room for Robert Pattinson on any of your lists?
Oh, you know what?
We don't know yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm leaving Pattinson out
room?
just because I don't know what his performance is gonna look like.
Pattinson.
So it wouldn't be fair to put him above anybody, and it's not fair to put him last yet either, because he's not necessarily the worst. It's sad to put Michael Keaton so low on my list, but I mean, hell, I think there's some really good competition. I think we've had some great Batman.
We have had some great Batman. My list, it starts off with Michael Keaton. I think he is hands down the best Batman, and my appreciation for his Bruce Wayne has actually increased in the last few years as I've gone back and rewatched.
He has some good dialogue too.
He does, even just incorporate, like, again, his relationship with Alfred, his relationship or sort of lack thereof with his home. Like the idea that, like, that scene with him and Vicky Vale, can you pass the salt? And like, he's never eaten in that room before. All that stuff, his Bat Cave, like Michael Keaton's Batman, I think he looked the best in the suit out of everyone. His I'm Batman, I want you to tell all your friends about me, is one of the like seminal Bat on film moments for me personally. So I go with Michael Keaton. And a lot of people like Batman Returns better than the 1989 version. I like 89 over Returns, but I think both are incredible movies, and both, I mean, you look at the villains that he got to face off with, it's, a lot of people's Mount Rushmores for his rogues gallery. And again, I just think in terms of strictly in the suit, it's Michael Keaton. Christian Bale gives him a run for his money as Bruce Wayne, which is where he comes in at number 2 for me, is Christian Bale. Love those movies. It's the best Bruce Wayne. I don't hate on the Bat voice as much as everybody else. I do think it got worse as the movies went along. Certainly by Dark Knight Rises, it was almost comical at certain points with how he did the Bat voice.
Yeah.
But I think Christian Bale was a very sort of worthy person to rock the mantle, and I think he did, again, best Bruce Wayne, great Batman. Then I go Val Kilmer. I know over the years, like John saying, a lot of people hate on Batman Forever. I don't think people hate on Batman Forever directly. I think it's because Schumacher was involved with both, that and Batman. And Batman and Robin is the one that everybody hates on. And sort of Forever has kind of been caught adrift in some of that backlash too.
It was the precursor.
I think Val Kilmer is almost like the Timothy Dalton of the Batman franchise. If he'd gotten more time with the role, I think people would look at his time with it very differently. And he did a great job, with that as well. I would have liked to have seen him in more as Batman, and again, I think he would be thought of more favorably. Then I will go Ben Affleck. Like everybody said, he looks the most like Bruce Wayne / Batman. I think he's really good. I'm excited that he is, hopefully coming back to do more within, the DC film universe. From there, who do I have left? I got Adam West.
And George.
And Adam West would probably rank higher if he did more Batman movies, but that's sort of where I'm skewing, is towards the feature-length films here. And then, George Clooney, bottom of my list. I do not think he's a good Batman. Batman and Robin is an atrocious movie. I like a star of George Clooney's caliber too, not asserting himself more, just to cash a check. Like he to me, it was a nothing. It was an absolute zero. And like me skateboarding, through the air with Robin. No, not for me.
What about the nipples?
As a kid, I thought that was super cool. Also, I mean, I think
cool.
George was still sort of a rising star at that point. He was a TV star who was starting to break off into movies. I mean, he was still like the ER guy, I thought, at the time.
Yeah,
I think he'd done like Three Kings and
that's a great movie,
stuff like that. Three Kings, yeah.
I meant Dust Till Dawn.
Yeah,
I've never seen Three Kings.
But yeah, so George Clooney, bottom of, is he on the bottom of all of our lists?
Yeah.
And Christian Bale's at the top of 3 of the 4. So that speaks to just sort of where the spread is on that one. But
Christian also has more movies. It's funny that you said that about Adam West. We have more hours of Adam West as Batman than anybody.
It's true.
Yeah.
That is
That's
true.
That's true.
Yeah, who doesn't love the Bat-Tusi and everything like that? And
right.
I don't have anything bad to say about Adam West's Batman portrayal because when there was. Look, I watched the Tim Burton Batman movie, and I would also watch the Adam West show and be equally enthralled by Batman with both. And I also have a partiality to his bat suit from the show as well. But
that was all West.
Yeah, we will and I think you even said in your outline that Adam West is almost like a real life Bruce Wayne anyway. So
he was living a life like a real life Bruce Wayne when that show was on the air. I mean, there's some awesome stories.
Yeah, what Burt Ward will tell some great Adam West stories.
Changed that kid's life.
We are going to revisit Batman. We're going to revisit Bill Finger and Bob Kane. All these things. I mean, there's so much to get into with the character. The animated series will get its own episode, but we wanted to celebrate Batman Day with y'all. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a great week. Happy Batman Day-ish whenever it is you celebrate. And remember, if you're a nerd, always say it loud and say it proud. Hey, Nerdosphere, Bimbo Jimbo here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want early access to this show, then you need to go to bestdamnnerdshow.com/Patreon. There is a bevy of content out there for you, and I hope you enjoy it all. Thank you so much for your support.